so here's what we got. We are just temporarily, just to show you guys how to pipe in the system, running the line set from the outdoor unit, which most of yours are going to be outside, the 4 units that we have outside, and you got to run your pipe. You've already measured and drew it out on paper. Now you need to set it up and run it, making sure that you make nice bends. Now this one here has got to be insulated. Anybody know why it has to be insulated? It is cold. It's below the dew point temperature. The temperature of this refrigerant and this pipe, inside the pipe, the refrigerant's colder than the dew point temperature of the surrounding air, so it's going to sweat. And to keep it from sweating, they wrap it with a black Armaflex insulation. And I think the rules just changed on this. I have some old half-inch stuff, but I think they go almost up to 1 inch thick on the insulation now. And then whatever size the pipe is, that's the size of insulation that you use. So some of you are going to have 3/4 inch, some of you are going to have 5/8 inch, depending on the size of your unit. That will determine the size of the pipe. So you got to take a look and see here. Oh, that's 5/8 right there, because this is 5/8 pipe. All right. And then if you notice, we got some all the way back up there. There's a little bit of white stuff inside here, and I want to slide this on. But before I do that, I want to get some electrical tape and tape up this right here. So somebody needs to go back into the supply room and grab us a roll of electrical tape to tape up those ends, and then we'll go ahead and slide some of this on. Get most of it on. Now, the other side's already done by the air handler. So we have to just really, now that I got one side done, take this stuff and slide it all up on while the other end's done. Another way of doing it is you can slice the insulation straight down the middle with a knife or a pair of scissors and then wrap it around, but then you got to go back like every foot and either zip tie it or take some electrical tape and tape it back up. All right? So we're going to go ahead, before we do that, we'll tape up the end. Today I'm going to be showing you, you didn't do this in level 1, but you're going to be doing this in level 2, and it's very important if the system has a 410A sticker. It's supposed to be done with all refrigerants, but it's critical with 410A. You know what happens to the pipe when you heat it up on the outside of the pipe? What happens when you're brazing and you heat up the pipe on the outside?
It gets hot.
Yeah, it does get hot, but what do you notice on the outside of the pipe? What do you
Changes color.
It changes color, but what else do you notice? One more thing. What happens to the outside of the pipe? What's that black stuff? Soot. Yeah, you get soot, you get carbon. That black stuff is from the oxygen in the air, and it's not only happening on the outside of the pipe. If you see it happening on the outside of the pipe, it's happening on the inside of the pipe. And then what happens is when that R410A refrigerant flows through the system, it cleans off that black soot that's on the inside of the pipe, and it clogs up screens, strainers. And I do even hear, I'm not sure if this is true or not, that the compressor, if you don't use nitrogen while brazing, these connections will burn out within a couple of years. Now that's what the manufacturers, so they all recommend that you're using nitrogen while brazing to keep the oxidation out. And this nitrogen tank, when I first tried to use nitrogen brazing for the first time, I was actually working on one of my own units, and the tank barely lasted 5 minutes. I didn't have this flow regulator. This is a flow indicator. It's a flow regulator. The amount of pressure I need to purge through the pipe while I'm brazing is so small, it can't be controlled with this valve, main valve here. Can't be controlled with the regulating valve here. I need another tool to slow down the flow of refrigerant. Moisture is attracted to nitrogen. Nitrogen is attracted to heat. So when I put that torch right here to braze up, all the nitrogen is going to want to come and suck out of the tank. And this tank only lasted, like I said, about 5 minutes the first time I did it. It was already empty by the time I was done with the first joint. Had to take everything apart and go get another tank at the supply house, come back, and then had to try, I didn't have this tool still yet, had to try and control the pressure using the gauge. So it was a little tricky. So you really need to do the nitrogen brazing. This Nitro View is Uniwelt's product. That's what they're calling their flow regulator. But really that's all it is. And if you take a look, I'll pass it around. It's about $60, I think. It's got a little ball. That ball is going to be my flow indicator, and there's 2 settings to it. It's about 20 plus 20 cubic feet, and then we got another one that's about 3 to 5 cubic feet of nitrogen, all right, per second. So it's going to, depending on where I have it, and then right in here in the middle is where I'll kind of want it. So either if you're brazing, put it down at the very bottom, or if we're purging, in other words, I'm using the nitrogen to blow the line out first, I'm going to put it up at the top. But this device here just connects right to the regulator. So now you got one more thing besides the regulator to connect to the tank. And I'm going to go ahead and put this one here. It's got to be up and down, and I want to do it so that I can access this knob, this valve right here. There's a pressure relief, like everything. You need a pressure relief. All right, nitrogen, the regulator needs a pressure relief. All your tanks need some sort. That's what this is back here. And then this is my connection for my hose to go to the gauges, to go to the unit. All right, and then this is going to be my on-off valve right here for this regulator. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set this up to about 20. All right, on our nitrogen tank. Don't need a lot. Again, back out the regulator first. Open it up at the tank, and then I can adjust the pressure to about, it really doesn't matter what I adjust it to because this is controlling it, but oh, you know what? I think I have a Schrader valve in here, which the Schrader valve, I like to keep the Schrader valve on this piece here, but there's no depressor in this tool here. I'm going to pass this around while I take the Schrader valve out real quick. Bleed it. Hang on the regulator again, and then again, just need my Schrader valve core remover tool. And this is not the only Schrader valve I need to take out. Now I don't want to lose this because I'm going to put it back in when I'm done. Lefty loosey, I'm working backwards here. Let's see which way. No, that's tightening. I'm right. It's hard when you're upside down and backwards. So I'm going to pull this Schrader valve out. Where's the other Schrader valves I got to pull out? So I don't want them to melt. And the valves, and the service valve, service ports down at the bottom. All right, so I think I got this one here. That's not coming out there with that one. Let me see if I can just use some of the caps also come with a valve core remover. So you can see that one's a little thick. Think I'm having a little trouble? Well, I'm doing that one. Brian, why don't you get that one down there? Pull that Schrader valve out of the liquid line. Yep, this one will get it. And if that's not giving you enough space, so again, remember the Schrader valves? I want to pull that out because that's holding back my pressure. I'll put that someplace where I'm not going to lose it. We done seeing the nitrogen view? You can take a look at it and pass it around here. He's still got a second. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull out the other one. Hey, back where you got the tape is a bag of couplings. I need a 5/8 coupling. Some sandpaper as well. I think I have some in the bucket, but I'm not sure. Alright, so now we can go ahead and set this up. Again, I want my valve in the front. And let me turn it to the side so you can all see it. You've seen the nitrogen tank before. No tools, finger tight. Just finger tight on that. This is backed out. I can open up the valve here. Tighten this up till it reads about 20. If it's too much, I can open it up and let it flow out. And you can hear. Alright, and I can control the flow, and you can see the needle here. So right there, see how it's bouncing right there? That's my brazing. That's what I'm going to set for braze. And then before I braze, I'm going to purge like that. Have the ball up here at the purge, the yellow line. And then I can adjust it back down. So now I'm probably about 2 psi or a little bit less than 2 psi of pressure. They consider it by what they're using here is the cubic feet of the volume of gas by cubic feet is the way they're doing it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead. We're all set up here with that. I can go ahead and shut this down, leave all this set up. Thank you, sir. Sandpaper? Alright, now, like I said, we got that in taped up. Let me see the Armaflex. We're going to run the Armaflex all the way back to the unit. So we'll just take it and slide it over the pipe. And let me just run one more little piece right here on the end. You don't want, there's like a white powder on the inside. Once it's in the pipe, it's very hard, even with the purge function, hard to blow this white this white powder stuff out. This doesn't have a lot of it, which is good, but some do. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this, and you want to hold that above you. Keep it from rocking and rolling. We got to hang some straps, but again, this is only temporary to show you guys. So you got to kind of fish it through the hole around any bends. Oh, I ripped it.
Oh, rip.
I ripped. Hold it up. You got it up? All right. Somebody come over here and help me out here. Pull it up. And I'll feed it in. Keep it from ripping anymore. Let me fix that hole with a little bit of tape. All right, so let's go ahead and fish this all the way back to the unit, and then we'll get the next piece. Next piece should be more. I should have had 3 pieces or so. Yeah, there should be 3 pieces. There should be one more. We got about 18 feet, and they're about 6 feet in length. Oh yeah, this one's got a lot. See that white powder? That's what we don't want in the unit, in the system.
Where do you want
all the way back to the... All the way back. It's like a Teflon, not really Teflon, but the powder just helps
right there.
Slide the pipe in. We're also going to need a tubing cutter from the tubing lock, and a pair of scissors from the top of my desk, Ryan. I like to use the scissors. You could use an electrical knife. Hey, Alex, can you see over here? All right. All right, now, look, for this part here, I want to size up how much I'm going to need. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line it up, see where it's at, line it up, and I'm still going to need this much to get all the way up to this valve. I want to cover this completely. Not only does it help keep the pipe from sweating, it keeps the unit from absorbing, more heat from being exposed to the elements. Like this might be outside, so if it's hitting by the sun, then it's going to affect that extra heat added to the pipe, added to the refrigerant. Or if it's running an attic, all right, or run down the side of a house, it's going to absorb some extra heat. We don't want it, so this also insulates the pipe from absorbing extra heat, which would give us a higher superheat reading on our unit. So that's about the space I need. Scissors cut this stuff real good. Now, like I said, if you had already brazed up the pipe, you would have to go back with this stuff here, slice it down the center, try and making that cut even, and then wrap it around the pipe, and then come back and you have to seal it up. The best thing is they have this glue, Armaflex glue. It's like PVC glue and all the other glues. It's got a real strong odor. You just want to take it and run the brush down and then hold it and let it get tacky, and it tacks back up and seals up. And then also at the ends here, I have some Armaflex glue that we're going to use, and we'll just seal up a little bit of glue around this side here, push that end up there, and it'll seal it up like it's one continuous piece by the time we're done. Now if you notice, look, how am I going to braze that right there? There's my braze right here. I got a braze to that piece right there, but it's hanging over. I got all this. What should I do? What could I do?
Cut it.
I could cut it, okay, but then I got to go back and I got to use more glue, and I'll have a split, and generally if it splits once, the glue won't last forever. It'll split there again. Watch this. It's spongy, so I can take it and I can kind of shove it all up a little bit, shove it up more than it needs to be. Hold that pipe there. I'm going to shove it up more. Back, back, back. Keep shoving it. Kind of even squish it together. Alright, now I'm going to take my tubing cutter, and we're just going to use this to hold the Armaflex away from the heat of the torch in the pipe right here like this. So I'll just back it out, and then I'm not going to cut it. I'm just going to use that to hold it. That's it. Just like that there. Alright? So now the Armaflex is held back with the tubing cutter, and I can go ahead. I've got this, and you can see all this white stuff down in here. That's why we put the tape on, because all that white stuff right here, that white powder, and again, it's just slick. It just helps the flow of the Armaflex go over the pipe. Put this tape off here. Hold this up for me while I'm working. pull off this piece. Where's my sandpaper? Really? A disc? That's for like auto body or something.
I didn't know
You got the wrong class. Alright, hold that up. Sand both ends. And normally I like a long piece so I can take it like a shoe shine. I don't know what that little piece is supposed to do. I'll make it work, but
I don't know.
Are we gonna switch this?
no swage. Very rare out in the field do we swage. I could use the tubing expander and swage it, and that would only leave one connection, but a lot of times out in the field you're just going to use these couplings. Alright, just a coupling, and if you see it's got the groove in the center, that's a stop for each end of the pipe. Each end of the pipe fits inside the exact diameter of the tubing. So if it's 5/8, it sticks in 5/8 of an inch. And a brush would be better, but the sandpaper works on the inside. Plus this is a pretty brand new fitting, clean. I just want to clean any impurities that's in the inside of it out. Don't sit down. There's no need to sit down.
No.
Nobody in HVAC sits down unless you're driving between jobs. And we're not driving between jobs. Alright, that's on, sanded, clean, ready to go. This piece is on, sanded, clean, ready to go. Now we can go ahead and get ready to braze. So now I'm going to break my nitrogen back out. I have both the shredder valves removed. Now if I was doing a piece up by the service valve, I would have to do something called heat sinking. So if the piece isn't, this one I don't have to really worry about it so much, but if I was brazing this connection here, any of these, I would take a damp rag, all right? It's not dripping wet, but it is wet, okay? And as long as this rag stays wet, the temperature of the rag will not get above, what's the boiling point?
Nitrogen.
212. It won't get any hotter than 212. So as long as I see steam coming off the rag, I know the rag's wet and it won't get any hotter than 212 degrees. It helps protect. There's also not only plastic in the shredder valve, plastic in the service valve in here that you got to protect. So we'll go ahead and we kind of wrap this around a certain way. All right, kind of wrap it up behind. I like to start in the back with the valve, get up underneath the valve by the unit. Can you see it from over there? I don't think you can. All right, so I can take it about halfway and I'm going to run it around like this, back and forth, and just get it all wrapped up like that there, and then that just protects that valve. It's called heat sink. Now I can take my set of gauges. I had a set of gauges, I think they're behind you. This one side is open, so I don't have to worry about it. Now I don't need to use the whole gauge because this flow meter, flow regulator acts like a gauge. I can use the gauge, but why would I want to do an extra? I got this valve, this regulator valve, this valve, another valve. I don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a hose off. I'm going to get back to those gauges in a minute. And then I'm going to hook this one up here to this. Hook this one up to my flow guard. And open up the flow guard till it goes all the way up to the top and purge it. And you can't hear it unless I block it like that. All right, run it like that for about 30 seconds. There's also instructions in here to tell you how to do it. Oh, and they also have like a little, I think, QR code with a video that shows you what to do. So here's the 10 steps, 10 steps, okay, that I'm following. I'm not saying them verbatim, word by word, but I'm kind of giving you the Cliff Notes short version. After that runs, then I can back this down. All right, I control the flow, get it down to that brazing area. If you notice, take a look at the needle when you get a chance. It's not resting. There's a little bulb that drops down and could plug a hole. It should be right above that hole. Should be kind of bouncing a little bit back and forth maybe. almost consistent. All right, so that's what that one is. Can you get that up tight? Tighten it up a little more so the hose. See it? It's right in here. All right. So that's going. Got it on the braze one. We're ready to go. Set up those torches. Open them up. Set up them torches. Wait. Wait. Go ahead. You go. Now, when I brace, that's not set up. You gotta open up the valve, adjust the pressure. Yeah, you gotta set them up. Nobody's used that today. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and when I braze, how should I braze this thing? I gotta think about the flame. Just go ahead and hold the flame like that?
No,
Why?
because it's too close. Right?
Well, what would happen if I hold the flame right there like that? What would happen if I hold the flame here like that? It burned the floor. What happens if I hold the flame like that?
Burn the unit.
Burn the unit. Have a nice big old black spot on the unit. You think I want to burn the unit or burn the person's floor?
No.
You got to think about this too. You got to think about this when you're doing the work. You cannot catch anything on fire. You cannot burn their unit. They will not give you the full price if it looks like you did not install it properly. They will complain and try and get a few $100s off the bill. Look, open up, quarter turn. Adjust the pressure till we get 7 psi. Open the main valve on the oxygen all the way. Adjust the pressure till we get what? 15 psi. Numbers didn't change. Yeah, 7 and 14 is really what we're looking for. Go ahead and check my tips. Make sure we're all tight. Check the pressures when I got the valves open. Get my striker. Now, it's blowing out, so when I start to seal up here, hopefully it continues to go out through here, but right now it is blowing a little bit back on both sides. So I want to adjust my flame, get my torch ready, and then heat it up. Go ahead and pull this back away from me a little bit. Go ahead, pick it up, pull it back a little bit. Yep, thank you, that's good. And I'm gonna heat up underneath the fitting. And you might even hear the pressure come out a little bit more out of that valve over there, because again, the heat, this keeps it pretty consistent, but the heat does draw. All right, once I feel like I'm getting to the appropriate temperature, I'll put a little dab on and then look for flow. And then once she gets hot enough, I can go ahead and I'm moving the torch around. I heated up the pipe first, trying not to get it cherry red, but hot enough to where I can use the heat of the pipe to melt the brazing rod. Let it get up underneath, and then do my other piece. See this black stuff on the outside?
Yeah.
That's what the nitrogen's protected. It's not on the inside. It's only on the outside because that's where the oxygen was. And that's it. That's brazing with nitrogen. Then once you get it cooled off, supposed to let it cool naturally because these guys got to go. I'm going to go ahead and just do it with this wet rag here. But now it's shocked the pipe. I've annealed the pipe and shocked it. But you see all this black stuff? This is what we're keeping from the inside. Then take your inspection mirror and inspect your work. See, now that's all that soot coming off. Yeah. Take your inspection mirror, really look up underneath. Underneath is the hardest part. And then I can take this off, slide it back down, and we've installed the line set using nitrogen to braze. And now I'll still pressurize up to the test pressure. And according to this nameplate here, which is on the panel of the unit, the maximum test pressure I can get to, high-low, we go with the lower of the two. Low pressure is 100 psi, so I can only test out low 150 psi. So I can hook that regulator up to 150 and make sure that the pressure doesn't drop from 150 down. And it could be 5 minutes, I could wait an hour, doesn't matter. But 150, if it doesn't drop, then I'll blow out all the nitrogen. It's okay to do that. hook up the vacuum pump, and we'll vacuum it out. And the line set's done now. This is complete. And then we can go back and do the electrical wiring, which is what I'll be showing you next. Any questions about this? Brazing with nitrogen. Got to run your line set, determine how much insulation you need, and then run your line set, insulate the suction line, braze everything up, pressure test. That's going to be the focus for this week. You are going to be working outside this week too. It's going to be a little chilly. Don't know what to do about that. That's just the way it is. Cut.